Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Outlook. I'm Mary Sitt. What's the hardest course you've ever taken in college? Maybe it was calculus or that English lit course. Well, HCC has a special program that's practically guaranteed to boost students' grades. Here to tell us more is Dr. Pauline Warren, Director of Supplemental Instruction at HCC. With more than 2 decades of experience in higher education, Dr. Warren is also the founding director of HCC's Women's and Gender Studies program at Southeast College. Dr. Warren, thank you so much for being with us.
I am. And
tell me, what exactly is supplemental instruction?
Well, supplemental instruction is a high impact academic enrichment and support program that uses peer assisted study sessions in order to improve student success in historically difficult to pass courses such as the sciences, mathematics, history, business, accounting.
So this is peer-to-peer tutoring. How can peer-to-peer tutoring help, and how is it different from a professor tutoring a student?
It's different because trained as what we call them supplemental instruction leaders, our tutors, our peer-to-peer tutors. And they're trained intensively before each long semester and continuously throughout the semester. They've been recommended by faculty, and the students have taken a course in and earned an A or a B in the specific course. And they hold 2 1.5-hour sessions outside of class every week. And so in those sessions, they invite the students within the course that they are attached to or they are assigned to come and participate in the sessions with them.
So these are not one-on-one tutoring sessions, at the student's pleasure or at the schedule. These are set tutoring times for a particular course, like Monday and Wednesday, we're going to have a tutoring session, that kind of thing, right?
That is correct. And our SI leaders inform the students within the class that what time they'll be holding the sessions and where. And of course, prior to COVID, they were face-to-face in our academic success centers all over the district. But they are collaborative work is done there. The SI leaders facilitate discussion, and they use techniques and strategies which are learned in their training to help students help themselves and to work together to help each other.
Now, is there time in these sessions for students to ask their own questions, or they're just really stuck in a particular part? They can just sort of say, hey, I've got a question on this little section or that little section. Is it customized in that way?
Absolutely, and throughout the session. But one way SI leaders sometimes begin their sessions is by saying, do any of you have questions about the last lecture or the last class period or about your assignment? And then students have an opportunity to raise their hand and ask their question. And oftentimes, even if the SI leader knows the answer, she or he redirects the question back to the other students in order to get them to participate, and they begin to help each other and to engage the learning material.
Dr. Warren, how many students are usually in each session? Because these are all now done virtually, right? Do you have a lot of students, or maybe 10 or 20, or how does it work now?
It is now virtual since it's in Microsoft Teams, it's in WebEx, it's in Zoom, like we are doing today in this interview. And the number of students ranges from 3 up to 20. So it kind of depends. Students are more likely to attend sessions around the time of midterm and finals, but we encourage them to attend from the first day because our studies show that students who attend and participate in SI earn higher grades and are much less likely to drop or fail the class.
And do you have stats on how much higher grades they earn? Do they go one whole letter grade up, or what?
As much as 1/2 to 1 letter grade up. Sometimes it's even higher than that. We don't like to overstate it, but we have seen that. And yes, we have our own data. There is national data from the Department of Education and other national studies. And we have data from our own studies at HCC to show that students who attend regular SI sessions are 2.5 times more likely to pass with an A, B, or C.
That's great. So what courses do you offer this SI, supplemental instruction in?
And in most of the sciences, and so we cover biology, anatomy and physiology, chemistry, physics. In the mathematics, we have a lot of SIs in algebra and calculus and trigonometry, and also English. It's very important in those formative English classes or those foundational English classes like English 1301 and 2. But we also have SI leaders in our literature classes. And
so it sounds like you have a lot of courses where you offer supplemental instruction.
We do. And surprisingly, we don't think of art as a subject matter where students have difficulty passing, but art history and art appreciation can be very difficult for students. And so we do have SI leaders as well in those subject matter.
Now tell me, what do the tutors do? What can they do in these sessions and what can they not do? They don't do so much homework for them, right? But they do show them, what do they show them and what do they help them with?
They cannot do their homework.
Right.
But they can facilitate discussion, which often begins with a question. They can teach students stronger study skills such as note-taking, and they teach students to study collaboratively. They do not grade papers. They hold an office hour every week. They meet with the faculty member with whom they are working in a specific course to let the faculty member know what they're working on for their sessions and to get some input from the faculty member. And say, is this a direction you'd like me to go in or not? The faculty member may want to share some examples of old exams. Some professors choose not to do that. But our SI leaders help students create their own possible exams and by prompting them to say, what do you think might be asked, for instance, on the next exam? Well, what did the teacher cover? What was on the board? What was in your reading material? Let's look at our reading material, break up into groups and mark new vocab words, new words and phrases, and let's learn the definitions of those, because every discipline has its own language, and that's a very important part of helping students to navigate. Learning that helps them to navigate through their subject matter. Maybe it's biology.
And Dr. Warren, this is all free to the students, right? There's no extra charge to students.
There is no extra charge. And I think that it's one of the greatest benefits we could offer our students. We have tutoring, we have other support systems, but this is for an hour and a half, twice a week. Our SI leaders hold that extra 1 hour of office hour a week, and they respond to emails, and even some of them, even though we ask them to hold boundaries, they respond to students through text and other methodologies. But yes, it is totally free to students, and I would a dream for me would be that every student who is in one of those courses that is difficult to pass, for whatever reason, or if a student just wants to keep their A or move from a B up to an A, or a C up to a B or A, and God forbid a D on up into a passing score, it would be a fulfilled dream to see students attend those sessions. It's an incredible support system.
And the students who are tutoring actually get paid to do this, right? So it's like a part-time job for them. So they take it pretty seriously. They
absolutely do. Okay. Yes. And one of the wonderful things about that is that the students themselves, the SI leaders who are also students who have taken that course, especially if they're working within their major, they learn that course material at a deeper, more complex level as they are helping the other students to learn at a more complex, deeper
level. How do students find out about this supplemental instruction? Do the professors talk about it at the beginning of the semester or what?
Lots of our faculty do talk about it. The faculty who work with SI leaders always inform the students that they have an SI leader. We are on a student's webpage also. And we attend new faculty orientation. some student orientation, and word of mouth spreads. I have many communications from students asking, does my class have an SI leader? Could I get an SI leader for my class? So students are hearing about it, they're learning, and they are knowing that this can help them to pass a course.
It sounds like a wonderful program. I wish I had that when I took that physics course 100 years ago.
Me too. Me too. I've often said that when I was in algebra, that I would have had an SI leader. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love all the different things HCC does to help make its students successful. And if you had to give one tip in our final 30 seconds, what would you give? One tip to help students succeed?
To help students succeed, I would say attend an SI session. Learn some of those study skills, strengthen the ones you already have, build on that. Don't miss a session if you can help it throughout the semester, and enroll in a course that has an SI leader.
Very good advice. Thank you so much, Dr. Warren.
Thank you so much. It was a privilege.
Thank you. Sauteed Porto shrimp and wood-grilled calamari. Those are the robust flavors of South Africa, and they're expertly captured in the popular Peli-Peli South African kitchen. We'll meet the co-founder right after this. Stay with us.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Peli-Peli South African Kitchen is one of Houston's best reviewed restaurants, a go-to place to celebrate those special occasions. Please meet our next guest, Thomas Nguyen, the co-founder of Peli-Peli. It's been featured on the Food Network and CNBC's Restaurant Startup. Thomas has recently transitioned from food to real estate, representing tenants at CBRE, the world's largest commercial real estate and investment firms. He is the brand advisor and associate there. Thank you, Thomas, for being with us.
Thanks, Mary, for having me. Always a pleasure.
So you have gone through many careers so far, and you're still young. You were in the restaurant industry, very successful with Peli-Peli. Now you're in commercial real estate. How did you get into the restaurant industry in the first place?
This is actually kind of embarrassed to say, but this is my third career change. My first career is actually I was an attorney. I went to school for undergraduate, got my journalism degree with the intention of going to law school, went to law school at UT, and practiced for 3 miserable years.
3 miserable years?
I wasn't meant to be a lawyer. I hated every minute of it. And, you know, my best friend is still a lawyer today, but it wasn't for me. I got lucky and met the original other co-founders of the concept, a South African chef named Paul Friedman. And together we started Peli-Peli in 2009. You know, we had an amazing 12-year run. And for me, during last year with COVID, you know, when I think I turned 44, I kind of went through a midlife crisis, and I asked myself, you know, is this what I want to do for another decade? And, you know, the answer was no.
Okay, so, before you go on, let me ask you this. When you went into business with your partner, into the restaurant business, did you know anything about the restaurant industry?
Zero. I've never even worked in a restaurant before. I didn't know the difference between what you paid a bartender and a server. I didn't know anything. I think some of the servers were even laughing at me because I ended up being our general manager by default. But that ended up being one of the best things to happen for me because it allowed me to learn the business inside out.
So what attracted you to that industry when you really had no experience before, and you know you were really going in a different direction? What was it that drew you into it?
Well, I knew I didn't want to be a lawyer, and what attracted me, I had never even thought of working in a restaurant. I knew nothing about it, but what excited me was the idea of being able to create a restaurant brand from scratch. I love marketing, branding, and PR. I didn't go to school for it, but I had an experience in starting what is now the largest Asian fraternity in the state of Texas. And that experience allowed me to do a lot of things in terms of promotion and marketing and social activities. And so I really had an interest in it. And, Chef Paul wanted a partner to do Peli-Peli, and he wanted someone that could focus on promoting it and figuring out what the brand looked like, connecting with people in the community. And for me, that was exciting.
So you really you followed your gut instincts too a lot, right? Because you just love that brand marketing thing, right?
It was easier for me because I will say, I wouldn't have been able to make that decision when I was 21. I mean, I think I was better prepared for it because I knew what I didn't want to do. I did follow the traditional path of, my parents told me, doctor, lawyer, engineer, and I picked a lawyer. It sounded cool at the time. And I went to school for it, and I'm glad I did. It was a great experience. And I can kind of tell you why later in the interview. But as far as being a lawyer, people ask me why, how did you know you didn't want to be a lawyer anymore? And the answer is, I knew I wasn't going to be any good because I didn't care about it. I mean, you can't be really good at something unless you are consumed and passionate about it.
So Thomas, how do you weigh the risk when you're jumping from one career to something completely different and you don't really have that much background in it or experience? It's really pretty risky. How did you balance that? And how would you advise others to balance the risk when they do something like that?
I'm going to be very candid with you. I mean, this transition for me from Peli-Peli to CBRE makes so much more sense because after a decade in the restaurant industry, I mean, I know every restaurateur out there, and I can share all the experiences as an operator that we've gone through with other restaurants in finding a location. When I transitioned from a lawyer to Peli-Peli, there was I literally started from ground zero. And I think you have to do that because I had to learn the business from nothing. It's very risky. And at the time I was 27, I wasn't married yet. And I figured if things didn't work out, it wouldn't affect, I didn't have a family at the time. I wasn't married at the time. And I was I knew I was so miserable being an attorney, and money was good. And I had everything I thought I wanted. I think that was the hardest part for me is I thought I had achieved the American dream and I should be so happy. And I wasn't. And that was depressing, right? Because you think you worked all these years to get to this point,
right?
And thinking that you're supposed to be so happy, and I wasn't, and I thought something was wrong with me.
Thomas, what kind of advice would you give HCC students who are perhaps transitioning? They're going back to school, they want to get that degree, they want to do something completely different, and that's why they're going to school. What advice would you give them to make it easier for them?
The fact that they're at HCC, it means potentially a few different things, right? They're transitioning to a 4-year program. Maybe they're starting late and kind of getting their education, or they're being smart about economics and getting through their core classes before they transition. Mm-hmm. Regardless, the biggest thing I can tell the students at HCC is understanding the value of where they're at right now and how it affects the rest of their life. I know they probably heard it from their parents, like college is so important, a degree is so important, but they may not have connected the dots for them. And I'm going to tell them, here's what's going to happen. If you go to HCC and you end up with bad grades, 1, chances of transitioning to a 4-year program, not going to happen. 2, you're going to end up with a 2-year or even a 4-year program at this rate with just poor scores. And that's going to affect your ability to get a decent job. And then you're going to end up, because you need money, you're going to end up working in a job that you're not utilizing your degree at all. And the longer you do that, the more you're going to forget what you learn. And it's a slippery
cycle. Yeah.
It's a cycle, right? It's impossible to get out at that point, because then the older you get married, you have a family, it's harder to go to school, it's harder to go back to school. It's harder to kind of make some of the changes that I was able to make. So I always tell all my nieces, nephews, anyone I could talk to, make sure your grades are as high as possible, especially the first 2 years, because the classes only get more difficult, especially when you transition after 2 years to a 4-year program. I mean, you're not taking electives anymore at that point. You're taking core classes. I always advise freshmen, that is the most critical time to get a 4.0 or high as you can, because it's only going to get harder. So if you start off with a 3.0 or even a 2.0, I mean, the chances of getting a 4.0 your second or third or fourth year are highly unlikely because your classes are going to be more stacked or longer, and they're going to be more difficult.
And the good thing about HCC, our first guest talked about this, is that there's peer-to-peer free tutoring. And it's been shown statistically that students' grades actually go up when they take these classes. So the HCC has lots of help to help their students become successful. So we're going to take a little break right now, Thomas. We'll be right back with more from Thomas Nguyen, who will give us tips and tricks to find that perfect career job. Stay with us.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
I love teaching at HCC. I love helping students.
With college credits.
With scholarships and financial aid.
Training them for life-changing careers.
Come learn with us. HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.
We've been talking with Thomas Nguyen, the co-founder of Peli-Peli South African Kitchen, and the brand advisor and associate at CBRE, the world's largest commercial real estate and investment firm. Thomas, tell me, the last 18 months, we've all been going through this really tough pandemic. How have you been able to build resiliency in your business and life in general, just to survive and be successful?
I don't think we have a choice, right? Everyone is sometimes it's easy to throw a pity party or, we're all concerned, we're all stressed what's going to happen over the last 18 months. And no one has an answer. And, someone always has it worse than you. So all we can do is kind of put our heads down and grind it out and figure out solutions, evolve. Our team did a great job of pivoting to box meals at Kroger, transitioning to takeout and delivery, dropping price points to make it more approachable for families, anything and everything that we needed to do to survive, much like the rest of the restaurant industry.
Thomas, how has your heritage and your background shaped who you are today? Your parents are Vietnamese, is that right?
That's right.
And were they refugees?
They were. And that was what the driver was. I had a firsthand look at what it means to suffer, what it means to have to give up your dreams for other people. My parents, they immigrated from Vietnam after the war, lost everything. Came to a country where they didn't know the language and had to start over. I talk to my wife all the time. I don't know how, if we were in the same situation, what we would do. And I think a lot of people don't understand that struggle. And I saw that firsthand. And so for me growing up and understanding that my parents essentially worked so hard to give me a chance, that's what really motivated me to make sure that whatever I did, I needed to be happy. I didn't want to I'm not going to say mediocre life, but I didn't want to do a job that I was miserable at, because I don't think that would do my parents much service. I'm reminded all the time of how much they sacrificed to give me this opportunity to even be here and talk to you and to go through what I did with Peli and now with CBRE. I'm eternally grateful for what my parents did and how much they struggled, and always think about it.
So that's really been your driver to justify and what their sacrifice, that you are doing well and you're being happy, and that their sacrifice is worth it for the next generation.
That's right. I don't know if my mom thinks it's worth it, but for me, I'm always reminded it's really to honor them and honor their sacrifice. And I got to make something of myself.
You give a lot of advice and talks to young graduates or seniors in school and colleges. What kind of advice do you give to students who are out there looking for a job, especially in this new work environment?
The most surprising thing that we see in people that interview is they do not know how to sell themselves. They don't know how to answer questions, and they feel like if they just brag about themselves, that's going to get them a job. And we see that all the time. Interpersonal communication skills, I tell people, I wish I would have worked in a restaurant when I was younger, because it allows you to connect with strangers, connect with people.
Okay, wait, what do you mean when you say people don't know how to sell themselves? They just talk about themselves. How do you sell yourself? And what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is people don't know how to explain what their strengths and their weaknesses are. They don't know how to explain how they've excelled in their previous job. They don't know how to give examples of how times that they've overcome an obstacle or times that they've been able to solve a problem. Not specific examples. It's always very vague. It's a big weakness. And so for me, for anyone out there, you have to be able to learn how to sell yourself in the sense of explaining to your potential employer why you would be a good asset with examples. Explain to them what your potential drawbacks are, what you're doing to solve those drawbacks. Explain to them why they're at their point in life and why they're looking for that particular job.
So Thomas, let's pretend like I'm CBRE. I'm going to hire you. You're Peli-Peli. So I'm just doing an interview. Thomas, why should I hire you? Okay, so why should I hire you to become, a brand advisor for us? You're in the restaurant business. What do you know about commercial real estate?
You should hire me because there's no other broker likely in the US that has my restaurant background that can hold the hands of every restaurateur out there and explain to them the pitfalls, the obstacles that they're about to face, and really provide all the kind of mistakes I've made to help them find the best location that they can find. There's no other broker out there. And so for me, what I'm hoping to do is couple my experience with CBRE's expansive data set to collectively work with restaurant tenants to find them the best location possible.
Okay, I'm impressed. You'll make the first cut, Thomas.
But that's essentially like an elevator pitch, and that's just the first part.
And then you go into specifics. Yeah,
that's right.
So when you're out interviewing candidates, and I'm sure you've hired many people and fired people in your careers, multiple. What do you look for? What makes a candidate stand out when you go, aha, this person's going to have lots of potential and work out?
Someone who I feel is very transparent. Someone who is eloquent and can explain where they've been, why they've been there, mistakes they've made, successes that they've had. Communication is critical. And also for me to understand, are they really telling me the truth, or are they just telling me what I want to hear? Those are things that we all look for, because we can train people. We can get them ready to work at our company. What we can't train is their attitude and their ability to communicate and their ability to connect with people.
It sounds also to me like you're looking for authenticity. People who are real, who really 100%. Speak from the heart and not just rattle off this sort of canned speech thing.
Well, and what happens is a lot of candidates will do that. And then when you pull back the layers, they don't know how to answer it, because they've kind of just said their thing, and there's no substance.
Thomas, what's the best way for a student or a candidate to improve their job interviewing skills?
I would do as many mock interviews with people that don't have a vested interest. You can do it with the parent, because typically they'll be hard on them. Don't do it with friends. Do it with, try to find mentors in the industry that you're looking to work in. You'll be surprised how many people want to help younger people, especially prepare for interviews, because we all get annoyed. We all have things and tips that we want to share, and you'll be surprised. I would reach out to people in the industry and find mentors and practice as much as possible with people that are really going to put them through the ringer in an interview.
Thomas, when you gave me an idea of what I can do in my spare time, I can be a interview people. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Mary.
That's all for this edition of Global Outlook. We'll see you next time every Friday and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. and p.m. plus Saturday at 10 a.m. Or you can go to our website at hccs.edu/podcast and download a podcast to go. And you can always watch the full video version on HCC's YouTube channel. I'm Mary Sitch. Thanks for joining us.